Hello everyone! Ngayon ay pag-uusapan natin ang mga major sa social studies or araling panlipunan. Una na dyan mula sa Asian Studies. Ang unang tanong natin, which of the following is the largest country in Asia by land area? Letter A is India, letter B, China, letter C, Russia, and letter D, Kazakhstan. Ngayon, bibigyan ko kayo ng oras para sagutin ang itong katanungan na to. Okay, ang tamang sagot ay letter C. Why letter C? Sinasabi dito na Russia is the largest country in the world, and although part of it lies in Europe, that majority of it landmass in Asia. Okay, next question. Sabi dito, what is the dominant religion in South Asia? Okay, ang pagpipiliin natin, start with letter A, Islam, letter B, Hinduism, letter C, Buddhism, and letter D, Christianity. Ngayon, bibigyan ko kayo ng 5 seconds to answer and chat the box kung sino makakatama ng sagot. Okay, alamin na natin kung anong tamang sagot. Okay, letter B. Why is B? Hinduism is the major religion of India and Nepal, which make up most of Southeast Asia population. Ang pangatlong tanong is, which country is known as the land of the rising sun? Ang ating choices ay letter A, Thailand, letter B, Japan, letter C, South Korea, and letter D, China. Okay, bibigyan ko ulit kayo ng 5 seconds to answer. Okay, the answer is letter B, Japan. Why Japan? Japan is called this due to its eastern location, relatives to Asia, and its historical name, Nihon, meaning origin of the sun. Ngayon, alam na natin ang sagot sa number 3. Nadako naman tayo ngayon sa ating pang-apat na tanong. Sabi dito, the ASEAN organization was established in what year? Okay, ang ating choices, letter A, 1945, letter B, 1967, letter C, 1972, and letter D, 1985. Okay, ngayon alamin na natin. The answer is letter B, or 1967. Bakit ba 1967? Sinasabi dito na ASEAN was founded on August 8, 1967 in Bangkok. Ngayon, alam na natin yung ibang sagot. Dadako naman tayo sa ikalimang tanong. Which Asian civilization is credited with inventing papers? Ang ating choices, letter A, India, letter B, Mesopotamia, letter C, China, and then letter D, Japan. The answer is China. Why China? Sinasabi dito na the ancient China is invented paper during the Han Dynasty or 105 Christianity. Okay. Dadako naman tayo sa number 6 na question natin. Which river is considered the longest in Asia? A. Mekong River, B. Yellow River, C. Ganges River, D. Yangtze River. The answer is letter D. The Yangtze River. The Yangtze is the longest river in Asia and the third longest in the world. Okay, our second question or 7 natin tong question na to. Which country is officially known as the Islamic Republic of Iran? Okay, ating choices, letter A, Iraq, letter B, Turkey, letter C, Saudi Arabia, or letter D, Iran. Wait ko yung answer nyo. Okay, alamin na natin kung anong sagot. The answer is letter D or Iran. Bakit letter D sa Iran? Sinasabi dito na Islamic Republic of Iran is a full of official name since 1979. Ngayon, alam na natin. Okay, dadako naman tayo sa number 8 na question. Which is Asian philosophy emphasizes harmony with nature and the concept of wu wei or non-action? Letter A, Confucianism. B, Sikhism. C, Taoism or Taoism. Or D, Shinto. Ngayon, alamin na natin kung anong tamang sagot. The answer is letter C or Taoism or Taoism. Bakit nga ba letter C? Sinasabi dito na Taoism focuses on living in harmony with the Tao and practicing Wu Wei. Ngayon naman, dadako tayo sa ikasyam na tanong. Which Southeast Asia country was never colonized by a European power? Ngayon, naalamin na naman natin kung sinong bansa ang hindi na-colonize. The letter A is Vietnam, letter B, Thailand, letter C, Indonesia, letter D, Myanmar. The answer is B, Thailand. Thailand is formerly Siam or remained independent through diplomacy. Ngayon naman, dadako tayo the last question sa ating Asian Studies o pang-sampu nating tanong. Ang tanong dito, what is the major economic activity in the Middle East due to its natural resources? Okay, ating choices. Letter A, tourism. Letter B, agriculture. Letter C, oil production. Letter D, manufacturing. Okay, the answer is letter C, oil production. Why letter C? The Middle East hold the world's largest proven oil reserves, making oil the backbone of its economy. Ngayon, tapos na tayo sa ating usapin ngayon patungkol sa Asian Studies. Dadako naman tayo sa ibang topic patungkol sa ating usapin. Paalam!
Ayan. So, magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Ngayon ay magre-review tayo sa World History 1. So, we decided na hatiin ang world history sa dalawa. So, ang magiging world history to nyo ay si Mr. Anferny Putong, which is siya yung magiging next na magtuturo or mag-review sa inyo sa world history. So, let's get started, everyone. Just remember na isasagot po ang letter lang po ang isasagot natin sa ating chat box at kung may katanungan ay mag-raise ng hand. Okay. Ready, everyone? Number 1. Which river was crucial for the development of ancient Egyptian civilization? Letter A, the Amazons. Letter B, Euphrates. Letter C, Nile. Or letter D, Tigris. Ayan, so may mga nakita na ako nagsasagot ng tama. Okay, tama naman ang inyong sagot. Letter C. So the Nile River was predictable. The Nile River's predictable flooding and fertile banks enabled the growth of ancient Egyptians for agriculture and civilization. So basically, the Nile is their way of life. No? Next, number 2. Who was considered as the father of Western philosophy in ancient Greece? Okay? Again, who was considered as the father of Western philosophy in ancient Greece? Letter A, Aristotle. Letter B, Plato. Letter C, Pythagoras. Or letter D, Socrates. Okay? Wala pa nakakuha ng tamang sagot. Ayan. Ayun, may nakakuha na. Okay. So, ang tamang sagot natin ay yes, correct. Letter D. Socrates or Socrates. So si Socrates po ang nag-develop ng Socratic method and nag-laid ng foundation ng Western philosophy. Okay, number 3. The Aztec civilization was centered around which modern-day country? So anong bansa daw nakasentro ang Aztec civilization? Letter A, Argentina. Letter B, Brazil. Letter C, Mexico or Mexico. Letter D, Peru. So, okay. So, tama naman ang iyong sagot, which is letter C. The Aztecs thrived in central Mexico or kaya tinatawag natin siyang Mesoamerica, which means gitna, before, the Spanish conquest. Number 4. Which religion is based on the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama? Or ano daw ang relihiyon or filosofiya kung saan nakasentro ang mga turo ni Siddhartha Gautama or kinakilala nating Buddha? Letter A, Buddhism. Letter B, Christianity. Letter C, Hinduism. Letter D, Islam. Okay. So, siguro naman, hindi na kayo magkakamali dito. Tama naman ang yung sagot, which is Buddhism, which is founded, again, by Siddhartha Gautama, also known as Buddha. Okay, number 5. The Byzantine Empire was the continuation of which empire? So, ano daw imperyo ang pinagpatuloy ng Byzantine Empire? Letter A, the Macedonian Empire. Letter B, the Ottoman Empire. Letter C, the Persian Empire. Or letter D, the Roman Empire. So, ayan. So, hati ang inyong sagot between A and D. No? So, tingnan natin kung anong tamang sagot. Which is letter D, the Roman Empire. So, the Byzantine Empire was the eastern continuation of the Roman Empire after its division. So, lagi niyo pakatandaan na dalawa ang Roman Empire. We have the Western, which is what we know as the Roman Empire, and then the Byzantine Empire, which is the Eastern Roman Empire. Okay? Number 6, Charlemagne was the ruler associated with which empire? This one is very easy. Madali lang ito. Okay, letter A, Byzantine Empire. Letter B, Holy Roman Empire. Letter C, Mongol Empire. Or letter D, the Ottoman Empire. Obviously, dalawa lang naman pagpipilian nyo dyan. Let A or B, tama rin naman ang sagot nyo, which is letter B, Holy Roman Empire. So, Charlemagne was crowned as the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire in 800 AD, uniting much of Western Europe. This is the start of the rise of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, number 7. Let's analyze the social structure of feudalism. Why did the vassals pledge loyalty to a lord? Letter A, to gain allegiance to the monarch. Letter B, for access to land and protection. Letter C, to gain merchant privileges. Or letter D, due to obligations to serve. Ayun. So, dito na tayo nagkaroon ng pagkakaiba sa ating mga sagot. So, hati-hati kayo, no? So, wala pa nakakuha ng tamang sagot. Ayan, may nakakuha na. So, for those who answered letter D, for access of land and protections, tama kayo. Which is, vassals swore loyalty to their lords in exchange for land, use rights, and military protection under the feudal system. So, yan. Number 8. Number 8. The Dark Ages in Europe followed which empires fall and what were the cause of its decline? Letter A, the Roman Empire, caused by the political and economic instability. Letter B, Persian Empire, because of internal struggles. Letter C, the Byzantine Empire, affected by invasions. Letter D, Mongol Empire, due to wars. Ayun. So, may unanimous naging sagot tayo, no? Letter B, the Roman Empire, caused by political and economic stability, which is the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, which led to the decentralization, economic decline, and societal disruption known as the Dark Ages. So, yan. So, last 2 numbers na lang tayo, guys. Kaya nyo pa yan. Nantok na ba kayo? O magkape kayo. Number 9. Consider the The development of writing in ancient civilization. Why was the cuneiform important for Mesopotamia? Again, consider the development of writing in ancient civilizations. Why was cuneiform important for Mesopotamia? Ayan. So letter A, due to its use in Hindu sacred texts. Letter B, as it represents ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Letter C, because it allowed record keeping and communication. Or letter D, because it was directly early form of Chinese characters. So obviously, tanggalin na natin yung letter A and D, no? Cancel na natin yan. So bakit kaya? So ang sagot natin, of course, is letter C, because it allowed for record keeping and communication. Because cuneiform was one of the early or one of the first known writing system which facilitates trade, laws, and administration in Mesopotamia. Last number, analyze the political structure of a Greek city, state, or mga polis. So why was democracy significant in Athens? Letter A, due to its kings holding hereditary power. Letter B, due to emperors having full authority. Letter C, because aristocrats ruled by birthright. Or letter D, it allowed citizens participation in government. Yan. So, due to cancellation, cancel na natin yung A and B. Alam naman natin na Athens is not a kingdom nor an empire. Ayun. So, may nakatama ang yung sagot, no? Letter D, because it allowed for citizens' participation in the government. So, Athenians' democracy was notable for involving its citizens in decision-making, influencing the development of modern democracy. So, ayan. So, congratulations sa inyong lahat. Nakapasa kayo sa ating review. So, maalam kayo sa world history. So, tingnan natin kung magko-continue yan sa latter part ng world history, which is world history 2. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope may natutunan kayo.
So, good afternoon to our dear students who spent their time reviewing for their upcoming licensure examination. So, after Mr. Caronan has discussed the topics from World History 1, I'm about to discuss some of the questions covered under World History 2. So, without further ado, let's begin the discussion. So, for the first item, number 1, a distinguishing characteristic of the French Revolution when compared to the American Revolution was that, letter A, it will create society based on majority rule. Letter B, it sought to recreate society from scratch. Letter C, it shall create a classless society. And letter D, it sought to recreate society from the bottom. So, the correct answer is letter B. So, it sought to recreate society from the scratch. So, why is that so? No? So, the French Revolution aimed to completely rebuild society from the ground up, challenging existing social structures and institutions. In contrast, the American Revolution was more about independence and self-governance, largely preserving existing social structures. So, for the second item, which country played a much more minor role in the second wave of European conquest in the long 19th century that it had played in the first wave during the 16th and 17th centuries? So, letter A is Spain, letter B, Portugal, letter C is Netherlands, and letter D is Britain. So, the correct answer is letter A, Spain. So, why is that so? Spain was a major colonial power during the 16th and 17th centuries, but played a much smaller role during the long 19th century wave of imperialism, replaced by expanding powers like Britain and France. So, during those times, Spain is already losing its former colonies, particularly Mexico and us here in the Philippines. No? So, for the third question, which country was least affected by the Great Depression? So, letter A, America. Letter B, Britain. Letter C, France. Letter D, Soviet Union. Okay, so let's find the correct answer. The correct answer is letter the Soviet Union. So why? No? The Soviet Union was largely insulated from the global capitalist economy due to its planned economy and limited trade. So it was less affected by the Great Depression compared to the capitalist countries like America, Britain, and France. No? So let's proceed to the fourth question. So what happened to the German territory in China after World War I ended? So territory rather, I'm really sorry, no? So letter A, it was sold to the highest bidder. Letter B, it was acquired by Britain. Letter C, it became a mandate. Letter D, it was returned to China. So let's wait for the answers. The correct answer is letter C. It became a mandate, no? After World War I, Germany lost its territories overseas. The Chinese territory that Germany controlled became a League of Nations mandate, which means that it was administered by another power under international supervision. So that's what happened to the former German territories in China after the World War I. No? So let's proceed to the fifth item. Which of the following refers to the military alliance that united Soviet Union with the Eastern European Communist states against Western capitalist countries during the Cold War? Letter A, NATO. Letter B, Eastern Bloc. Letter C, Anglo-Soviet Treaty of 1942. And letter D, Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance. The correct answer is letter D. So letter D stands for the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance. No? So the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance was the formal military political alliance binding the USSR and its satellite states during the Cold War, distinct from Western alliances like NATO. So let's proceed to the sixth item. Led by Vladimir Lenin, Bolsheviks or Bolsheviki was a member of a wing of the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party which seized control of the government in Russia during October 1917 and became the dominant political power. What does Bolshevik mean? So, letter A, one of the minority. Letter B, one with the peasants. Letter C, one of the majority. And letter D, communist warrior. So let's wait for your answers. Okay, Mr. Gataselo answered letter C, and luckily he got the correct answer. So the Bolsheviks means that they belong to one of the majority. No? So Bolshevik literally means one of the majority in Russian, referring to the faction of the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party that had majority support and eventually seized power. So that's what happened after the class or the faction Bolshevik conquered power during the Russian Revolution. Number 7. What drew Japan, Germany, and Italy into a political alliance by 1936 to 1937? Letter A, hostility towards the Soviet Union. Letter B, hostility towards the United States. Letter C, preparation for World War II. Letter D, in response to NATO. So what's the reason, do you think, why these three countries had merged and built a political alliance in periods from 1936 to 1937? Okay, Mr. Gataselo got the correct answer again. And I think you're a wide reader, ha? So, he answered that the correct answer is letter A, which stands for hostility towards the Soviet Union. So, why is that so? Hostility towards the Soviet Union was a major factor uniting these Axis powers before World War II, as they also communism and the USSR as a common threat. So USSR are the countries in Eastern Europe composed of those who adhere to the communist political ideas. No? So they saw USSR and communism as threat. So for the 8th item, which of the following was a reason for the popularity of the Nazi Party once it seized power in the 1930s? So letter A, its promise to defeat the Soviet Union. Letter B, Adolf Hitler was believed to be sent by God. What a silly choice. Letter C, its ability to indoctrinate the German youth about master race. And letter D, its success in bringing Germany out of the Great Depression. And Mr. Gattusello got the answer again. So according to him, the answer is letter D, its success in bringing Germany out of the Great Depression. So the Nazi Party gained support through its effective policies that helped reduce the impact of the Great Depression in Germany, restoring economic stability and employment. So that's the reason why they gained popularity during those times. No? So second to the last item, how did the American occupation of Japan after World War II affect Japanese economy? So quite an intriguing question. No? So letter A, it promoted nationalism and national pride. Letter B, it promoted rapid economic growth and generated economic prosperity. Letter C, it contributed to Japan's first policy. And letter D, it promoted inflation and loss of national pride. So let's wait for some of the answers. Okay. I think from this review session, we'll have Mr. Gattusello as the top notcher for the upcoming LEP, no? Because he answered the correct answer again, no? And according to him, it's letter B. It promoted rapid economic growth and generated economic prosperity. So give a virtual clap to Mr. Gattusello for consistently answering the correct answers. Well, the explanation behind this is that the post-World War II American occupation reforms helped promote rapid economic recovery, industrial growth, and prosperity in Japan through reforms and aid. So, job well done, Mr. Gattusello. Let's see if in the last item you can still answer the correct answer, no? So, question number 10. When the U.S. President Woodrow Wilson arrived in Paris for the peace conference in 1919, he brought with him a plan for a new kind of international life based on moral principles rather than secret deals and imperialist machinations. This plan was known as the letter A, Marshall Plan, letter B, 14 points, letter C, European Recovery Program, and letter D, USEDS. Okay, so let's wait for the answers, no? And here we go again. Mr. Gattusello got the correct answer for the last time, no? And according to him, it's letter B or the 14 points. So Wilson's 14 points was a proposal promoting international peace based on principles like self-determination and open diplomacy, contrasting with secret colonial deals of the past. So I would like to congratulate Mr. Gattusello for consistently answering the correct the questions with correct answers, ano? So perhaps he would be the next top notcher from our review center. And also, I would like to commend your effort to be here and join our online review session for today. Please read a lot so that it will help you when you answer the questions in World History 2 correctly. Thank you so much for dropping by.
Hi everyone, I am Mary Grace Marticio, your reviewer for today's video. So our topic is all about economics. So now let's proceed. So first question is, which of the following best defines economics? A. The study of money and banking. B. The study of how society allocates scarce resources. C. The study of business and entrepreneurship. Or D. The study of government and its politics. The correct answer is B. Tama. So, why? So, kasi ang economics ay hindi lang tungkol sa pera o negosyo, no? Mas malawak ito or tumutukoy ito sa paraan ng pagdesisyon ng tao at lipunan kung paano gagamitin yung mga limitadong resources para matugunan yung walang katapusang pangailangan ng mga tao. So, dahil dito, yung pinakatumpak na desisyon or yung sagot is allocation of a scarce resources or letter P. Tama. So, number 2. What is a fundamental economic problem that gives rise to the study of economics? A. Inflation. B. Scarcity, C. Unemployed, or D. Competition. So, the correct answer is scarcity. Tama. So, why? Ang pundasyon ng economics ay yung problemang scarcity. So, dahil limitado lang yung resources, tapos walang hanggan yung wants ng mga tao, napipilitan tayo mamili at magdesisyon. So, kaya nagsimula ang pag-aaral din ng economics para sagutin kung paano haharapin yung kakulangan ng mga tao. So, the correct answer is B, or scarcity. So, number 3 question. If demand increases while supply remains constant, what will happen to the equilibrium price? A, it will increase. B, it will decrease. C, it will remain the same. Or D, it will become zero. So, the correct answer is A. Tama, it will increase. Kasi, kapag tumaas ang demand habang pareho lang ang supply, mas maraming yung tao na gustong bumili ng parehong dami ng produkto. So, dahil dito, nagkakaroon ng kompetisyon sa pagbili. Kaya tumataas din yung presyo kasi nga, ayun yung gustong maabot o yung panibagong equilibrium. Kaya ang tamang sagot ay A. Okay. So, number 4 question. What do we call the satisfaction a customer receive from consuming a good of service? A. Marginal cost. B. Consumer surplus. C. Utility. Or D. Profit. So, the correct answer is C. Tama. So, why? Why utility? So, pag sinabi kasi nating utility, ito yung tawag sa satisfaction o kasiyahan na nararamdaman ng isang consumer sa paggamit ng produkto o serbisyo. So, hindi ito yung kita, no? Hindi rin ito yung gastos, kundi ito yung sukat ng kasiyahan ng mga tao na bumibili ng isang produkto. So, the correct answer is letter C. So, 5th question. Which market structure is characterized by a single seller and high barriers to entry? A. Monopoly. B. Oligopoly. C. Perfect competition. Or D. Monopolistic competition. So, the correct answer is tama, monopoly or letter A. So, why monopoly? Ano ba yung monopoly, no? So, yung monopoly kasi isang market structure na kung saan may isang seller, may product, at may mataas na barriers to entry. Dahil walang kompetensya or kontrolado niya lang yung presyo at yung supply sa merkado, ito yung malinaw na katangian ng isang monopoly. Kaya, ang tamang sagot ay letter C. Tama. So, 6th question. Which of the following will cause a rightward shift of the supply curve? So, pupunta daw sa pakanan. So, A, decrease in the number of seller. B, an increase in production cost. C, a new technology that lowers production cost. Or D, a higher market price. So, the correct answer is letter C. So, kapag may bagong teknolohiya kasi tayo, nagpapababa siya ng production cost, no? Mas madali at mas murang gumawa ng produkto. Kaya hanggang mag-supply yung mga producer na mas marami kahit sa parehong presyo. Kasi, lumilipat pa kaliwa ang supply curve. Kaya ang correct answer is C. Okay, tama. So, number 7th question. Gross domestic product or GDP measure the total value of A. All goods produced by citizens anywhere in the world. B. All goods and services produced within the country. Or C. All export minus imports. Or D. All government spending. The correct answer is letter B. Tama. So, ano ba yung GDP muna, no? So, GDP or the Gross Domestic Product ay isang tumutukoy sa kabuuang halaga ng goods at services na ginagawa sa loob ng bansa. Kahit sino pa yung gumawa, local man or foreign company, hindi ito tungkol sa output ng mamamayan, no? Kundi output ng isang bansa. Okay. So, that's why the correct answer is letter B. Okay. So, Number 8 question. When the government increases taxes to reduce inflation, what fiscal policy it is using? A. Expansionary fiscal policy. B. Contractionary fiscal policy. C. Monetary 1099. Or supply side economics. So, the correct answer is B. Tama. Why? Bakit B? Kapag tinaas ng gobyerno yung buwis, bumababa yung spending ng tao. Dahil mas konti yung gastusin, bumabagal yung ekonomiya, no? At bumababa din yung inflation. So, sa ganitong paraan, yung contractionary fiscal policy, pinapaliit siya ng ekonomiya para din pababain yung presyo. That's why, the correct answer is letter B. Okay. So, malapit na tayo matapos nun. Last 2 questions. So, number 8 question. Which of the following best describe the law of diminishing marginal returns? A. Cost decreases, output increases. B. Adding more units of a variable input eventually yields lower additional output. Or C. Demand decreases when price increases. Or D. Consumer prepare variety in products. So, the correct answer is B. So, why B? So, yung law of diminishing marginal returns kasi, yung nagsasabi kapag dinadagdagan mo ng dinadagdagan yung variable or yung input tulad ng labor. Pero kasi, hindi nadadagdagan yung fixed input tulad ng lupa o makina. So, darating yung punto na bababa ang dagdag na output. So, iyon mismo yung nasa B, no? Kaya, yung B yung tamang sagot. So, for the last question, what is the main function of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP? A. Collect taxes. B. Regulate prices of goods. C. Control the country money and supply and maintain stability. Or D. Provide loans to small businesses. So, the correct answer is C, or the control the country money and supply and maintain the price stability. So, why? Ano ba yung Bangko Sentral or ano ba yung BSP? So, ang Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas ay may tungkulin na pangalagaan yung money, yung supply, yung presyo, at katatagan ng mga pera ng mga taong bayan. That's why, ayun yung tungkulin ng BSP or ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So, ayun lang yung reviewer natin for today. So, I hope you learned something for me. And, yun lang. Bye!
Okay. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ngayon naman pag-uusapan natin ang anthropology, no? Ito naman ito-take natin. So, my name is Dan Brian Amorin, and let's go. So, unang tanong. The primary focus of anthropology is the study of the blank. A. Political structures of society. B. Biological, cultural, and social aspect of humans. C. Economic progress of civilizations. D. Technological advancement of nations. Okay. Okay naman lahat, no? Ang tamang sagot ay B. Biological, cultural, and social aspects of human. No? Kasi dito, sinusuri dito sa anthropology ang tao sa lahat ng aspeto, katulad na lang sa kultura, sa lipunan, pati na rin sa pananamit ng mga tao. Okay, let's proceed to number 2. Okay. Which branch of anthropology deals with human biological diversity and evolution? Letter A, cultural anthropology. B, archaeology. C, physical, biological, and anthropology. D, linguistic anthropology. Okay, comment down below. Okay, okay naman lahat. Ang tamang sagot ay C, physical biological anthropology, no? Ito yung branch na tumitingin sa evolution at physical differences ng mga tao. Okay, let's proceed to number 3. Okay, excuse me. The concept of political relativism means culture. Okay, question number 3, ulitin ko. The concept of cultural relativism means A, culture should be ranked based on moral standard. B, culture must be understood based on their own context. C, all cultures must adopt Western practices. Or D, cultures cannot change over time. Okay, comment down below yung mga sagot. Okay na ba lahat? Okay, ang tamang sagot ay culture must be understood based on their own context, no? Hindi natin pwedeng husgahan yung kultura ng ibang lugar or kultura ng ibang tao based sa kung ano yung kultura natin, no? They have their own standards, no, sa pamumuhay, no? Kaya hindi natin sila basta-basta gagamitin ng standard natin sa kanilang standard. Okay, let's proceed to number 4. The anthropologist known for participant observation in the Trobriand Island is A. Franz Boas, B. Bronislaw Malinowski, C. Margaret Mead, D. Claude Levi-Strauss. Okay, comment down. Okay, ang tamang sagot ay Bronislaw Malinowski. Okay, siya yung nagpauso ng pag-i-stay na matagal or paninirahan sa isang lugar o sa isang komunidad na para maobserbahan anong kultura meron sila doon. Okay. Okay, let's proceed to number 5. A tool. Number 5 questions. A tool or artifact discovered during excavation is primarily studied under. Again, a tool or artifact discovered during excavation is primarily studied under A. Ethnography, B. Linguistic, D. Paleontology, C. Archaeology, D. Paleopathology. Okay, comment down below. Okay na ba lahat? Ang tamang sagot ay archaeology. So sa archaeology, no, sa pag-aaral ng archaeology, pinag-aaralan dito yung mga artifacts pati na rin ng mga ancient objects na na-discover sa mga historical sites, no. Katulad na lang sa pyramid sa Egypt, no, sa mga Latin America may mga dinosaurs, ganun. So number 6, let's proceed to number 6 question. The smallest unit of culture that carries meaning such as customs or belief is called A. Artifact, B. Core value, C. Trait, D. Norm. Okay? Okay, let's reveal the answer. Ang tamang sagot ay letter C, trait. So ang trait kasi ito yung pinaka-basic element ng kultura, no? Ito yung mga anong klaseng custom, ano bang beliefs ng mga tao, ano ba yung mga standard nila doon sa isang kultura, no? Kaya nga sinasabi kanina na hindi pwedeng i-judge based on your own standard, no? So number 7, when a dominant culture forces a minority group to adopt its practices, the process is called A. Assimilation, B. Enculturation, C. Socialization, D. Independent invention. Okay? Again, the options are A. Assimilation, B. Enculturation, C. Socialization, D. Independent invention. Okay, let's reveal the answer. Letter A, assimilation. No, kapag sinabi natin assimilation, ito yung pinipilit, ito yung either pinipilit o kung sila nagpapasunod sa dominant culture, no? So let's proceed to number 8. The theory that humans adapt to their environment both biologically and culturally refers to A. Diffusionism, B. Functionalism, C. Holism, D. Cultural ecology. Okay, let's reveal the answer. No? Ang tamang sagot ay cultural ecology. Kapag sinabi natin cultural ecology, pinapakita dito kung paano nag-adjust ang tao sa environment gamit yung kanilang kultura or yung sa klase ng pananamit nila sa mga ornaments, no? So, kung anong readily available resources, yun ang ginagamit nila, na yun yung talaga nagiging parte na ng culture nila. Halimbawa, kung isang pamayanan malapit sa palisdaan, no? Makikita natin sa mga pesta, yung mga pesta nila tungkol sa sa mga pesta, sa mga ano, sa mga halimbawa mga specific na isda ganun. So, let's proceed sa number 9. The marriage practice where an individual is required to marry within a specific social group is called A. Exogamy, B. Endogamy, C. Polygamy, D. Polyandry. Okay? Okay, let's reveal the answer. The answer is endogamy. No? So ano ang endogamy? Ito yung ano, ito yung process na o system na kung saan kinakailangan pakasalan mo yung nasa loob ng sarili ng grupo. No? Ang pinakamagandang example dito yung INC no, na talagang mahigpit sila sa mga tawag din, hindi sila pwedeng ikasal sa ibang religion unless kung ma-convert muna yung ano yung papakasalan nila. So, sumunod naman na question, number 10, last question. Okay. The study of how languages influence social life is known as A. Syntax, B. Ethnolinguistics, C. Phonology, D. Semantics. Okay, let's reveal the right answer. B. Ethnolinguistic. No? Kapag sinabi natin ethnolinguistic, tinitingnan dito kung paano konektado ang wika sa kultura at sa social behavior ng mga tao sa pamayanan o komunidad. Okay, thank you.
Ngayon naman, ang susunod nating topic ay walang iba kundi ang geography. Ang focus pa rin natin ay nasa social studies. So muli, ito si Teacher G at ating ngayon itatalakayin ang geography. Ngayon, ang unang tanong ko ay ito. The Philippines is an archipelago with a dynamic geography. According to the National Mapping and Resource Information Authority, o ito yung NAMRIA, what is the current official account of islands in the Philippines? So number 1, meron tayong 4 na choices. A, 7,107, B, 7,641, C, 1,701, and D, 5,500. So, sige nga, tingnan nga natin kung alam ang sagot. Okay, ang tamang sagot ay D. So, 7,641. Bakit? 7,107 was the count na iniisip natin nung mga nakaraang dekada pa. Pero ayon sa NAMRIA, yung updated figure ay noong 2017, yung pinakahuling update. Ito ay ginamitin ng Advanced High Resolution Radar Technology kung saan na-identify nila na meron pang 500 previously uncharted islands and islets. So, kaya siya naging 7,641. Next question. Which imaginary line is located at 0-degree latitude, so latitude and divides the Earth into the northern and southern hemispheres? A. Prime meridian, B. International dateline, C. Equator, D. Tropic of Cancer. So, tingnan nga natin kung sino nakakaalam ng sagot. Sige nga, comment down below nga. Sige, ang tamang sagot ay C. Equator. So, bakit nga ba equator? Equator is the line of 0-degree latitude running horizontally around the center of the Earth. So, horizontally around the center of the Earth. So, horizontally, tatandaan nyo yun. The prime meridian is 0-degree longitude dividing east and west. So, kaya siya naging equator. Next question. The Philippines is bounded by several large bodies of water. Which body of water is located at east of the Philippine archipelago? Sige nga. So, alam na alam to ng lahat dahil mainit to eh. A. South China Sea, B. Sulu Sea, C. Celebes Sea, D. Philippine Sea. Sige. Okay, may nakakuha na agad ng sagot. D. Philippine Sea. So, bakit nga ba naging Philippine Sea yung sagot? The Philippine Sea is to the east. So, nasa silangan siya, leading to the Pacific Ocean. So, yun yung palatandaan natin. Nasa east, tapos katabi niya yung Pacific Ocean. The South China Sea, nasa west naman siya, o yung yung mainit na issue nga ngayon na dapat tawagin na rin siya ngayong West Philippine Sea. So, nasa kanluran. Yung Celebes Sea naman nasa south siya, and yung Sulu Sea nasa southwest. So Celebes Sea nasa south, pero yung Sulu Sea nasa southwest. So yun yung pagkakaiba nilang apat. Yan, sagot ay Philippine Sea. Number 4. What is the longest continuous river in the Philippines, draining the fertile valley between the Cordillera and Sierra Madre mountain ranges? So, tinatanong dito yung longest continuous river sa bansa natin na nasa fertile valley ng Cordillera at ng Sierra Madre. So, kung titingnan natin sa mapa, yung Sierra Madre nandito siya banda sa east. So, yung Cordillera naman nasa bandang gitna. So, tingnan natin. A. Pasig River. B. Cagayan River. C. Agno River. D. Pampanga River. Sige, yung mga taga-norte dyan, alam na alam yan. Matik yan sa mga taga-norte. O yan, may nakakuha na agad ng tamang sagot. Letter B. Cagayan River. So, bakit nga ba naging Cagayan River? The Cagayan River, o mas kilala siya sa tawag na Rio Grande de Cagayan, is the longest and widest river in the country. Located siya northeastern Luzon. Yun nga, sinabi ko sa inyo, di ba? Yung Sierra Madre nasa east siya. The Pasig River is historically significant but much shorter. So kung titingnan nga natin, nasa east yung Sierra Madre, tapos nandito rin yung Cagayan River, sa east din siya, sa pagitan ng Cordillera sa kanong Sierra Madre. So, tatandaan nyo yun Cagayan River. Next question, number 5. Which term describes a narrow strip of land with sea on either side, forming a link between two larger areas of land? So, ang pagpipila natin, strait, archipelago, isthmus, D, peninsula. So, ito nakakalito to. Maraming laging nalilito sa tanong na to. Kasi madalas na pagpapalit-palit yung strait, archipelago, isthmus, peninsula. So, anong tamang sagot? Ayun, may nakuha na ng tamang sagot. Ang tamang sagot ay C, isthmus. So, bakit nga ba naging isthmus? An isthmus connects two larger land masses. So, pinagkoconnecta niya yung dalawang malaking bahagi ng lupa. Example na ito ng isthmus, yung Panama. A strait connects two bodies of water. A peninsula projects into water. So, kung titingnan natin yung yung Panama, makikita natin dun yung kung titingnan natin yung mapa ng Panama. So, makikita natin dun kung paano niya pag-connectin yung dalawang landmass. So, next question. Which continent is the largest in the world in terms of both land area and population? So, A, Africa, B, Asia, C, North America, D, Europe. Okay, may nakuha na ng tamang sagot. So, B, Asia. So, bakit nga ba naging Asia? Asia is the largest continent covering about 30% of Earth's land area and hosting roughly 60% of the global population. So, doon pa lang, siya yung pinakamalaking kontinente ngayon. Siya rin yung may pinakamaraming population. Next. 7. In cartography o yung map reading, what does it indicate when contour lines are drawn very close together? So, kung meron daw contour lines na ginuhit na sobrang magka-dikit. So, A, gentle slope, B, a steep slope, C, a plateau, D, a depression. So, medyo tricky yung tanong kasi pag titingnan natin yung contour lines, mahirap siyang mabasa. So, ang tamang sagot ay B, a steep slope. Bakit nga ba? Contour lines represent elevation. When they are close together, it means the elevation changes rapidly over a short distance, indicating a steep slope, while the spaced lines indicate a gentle slope. So, kapag may nakita tayong contour lines na magkadikit, sobrang magkadikit, so nangangulugan siya na elevation o yung mataas na lugar. So, kapag malawak naman yung space niya, um, nire-represent naman niya yung gentle slope o yung matarik siya pero hindi siya banayad yung pagkatarik niya. Unlike nung steep slope na sobrang tarik talaga. So next question, what is the deepest known point in the Earth's ocean located in Western Pacific Ocean? So Western Pacific Ocean A. Puerto Rico Trench, B. Java Trench, C. Mariana Trench, D. Tonga Trench. So yun, kung mare-recall nyo yung itsura ng world map, makikita nyo yun agad. Ayan, may nakuha na ng tamang sagot. C. Mariana Trench, tama. Bakit nga ba naging Mariana Trench? The Mariana Trench, specifically the Challenger Deep, is the deepest point. It is located near the Philippines and Guam. So, nasan ba yung Philippines and Guam? Di ba nasa Western Pacific siya located? Kapag titingnan natin yung mapa, yung Philippines, nandun siya sa Western Pacific banda nasa banda siya ng Western Pacific Ocean. At doon din matatagpuan yung Mariana Trench. At yung sa Mariana Trench, yung pinakamalalim doon na point, yung natawag na Challenger Deep. So, next question. The atmosphere is divided into layers based on the temperature trends in which layer do most weather phenomena such as clouds and precipitation occur. So, saan daw dito? So, meron tayong layer sa atmosphere. Ngayon, saan daw dito yung nag-occur o nabubuo yung mga clouds and precipitation? So, A. Stratosphere, B. Troposphere, C. Mesosphere, and D. Thermosphere. So, yan, meron na daw nakakuha ng tamang sagot agad kasi basic knowledge daw from elementary. So, yun, natandaan pa mula elementary. Matalas ang kanilang memorya. So, troposphere, letter B, ang tamang sagot. Bakit nga ba? The troposphere is the lowest layer of the atmosphere, closest to the ground. It contains the vast majority of the atmosphere's mass and moisture, which is why weather happens here. So, siya yung pinakamalapit sa lupa. Ngayon, siya rin yung pinakamababa. At siya yung pinaka nakakasalo lagi dito lagi nangyayari yung moisture. So, doon nabubuo yung mga clouds and precipitation. So, for our last question about geography, which region in the Philippines is the only one that is not divided into provinces? A. CAR o Cordillera Administrative Region, B. NCR, National Capital Region, C. BARM, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, D. 4A Calabarzon, Region 4A Calabarzon. So yun, may nakakuha na agad ang tamang sagot. Letter B, NCR o National Capital Region. So obvious naman siya na NCR kasi nga NCR is composed of 16 independent cities and 1 municipality which is yung Pateros. It is the only region in the country that does not have provincial level of government. So independent kasi lahat ng nasa loob ng cities sa NCR o Metro Manila. So yun lang para sa ating geography. Thank you.
Ayan. So, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. So, ngayon naman tatalakayin naman natin ay patungkol sa Philippine history. Ayan. So, nakikita nyo ba yung first question sa ating PPT? Ayan. So, basahin natin para mas maintindihan nyo mabuti. No? So, number 1 question, who is generally acknowledged as the first president of the Philippines? So, letter A, Andres Bonifacio. Letter B, Manuel Quezon. Letter C, Emilio Aguinaldo. And letter D, Apolinario Mabini. So, bigyan ko kayo ng ilang seconds para makapag-chat dyan sa ating chat box para makita ko kung tama ba yung iyong idea about sa ating first president na kinilala dito sa Pilipinas. Ayan, tama yung, marami naman yung nakatamang sagot. So, ang correct answer natin ay si Emilio Aguinaldo. So, Aguinaldo led the first Philippine Republic and was the first recognized president in the Philippines. No? So, si Bonifacio kasi, dineclare niya yung sarili niya as the leader of the Tagalog Republic. No? Aguinaldo presidency was the official and internationally recognized one. So, dalawa yung pinagtatalunan. Pero, pag pinag-usapan natin yung na-recognize ng ating constitution, ay ang tamang sagot ay si Emilio Aguinaldo. So, gets naman. Ayan. So, ready na sa question number 2. So, question number 2, who was the chief advisor of Emilio Aguinaldo, yung ating recognized na first president ng Philippines? So, sino yung chief advisor niya? So, tignan natin kung natatandaan niyo pa. So, chat nyo sa chat box kung tama ba yung inyong mga sagot. So, letter A, Mariano Ponce. Letter B, Apolinario Mabini. Letter C, Graciano Lopez Haina. Letter D, and Pedro Paterno. Ayan. So, chat nyo lang yung mga sagot nyo. Ayan. So, marami naman tamang sagot ulit na magagaling. Natatandaan nyo pa yung mga pinag-aralan nyo. So, ang tamang sagot dyan ay si Apolinario Mabini. So, si Mabini, ang tinatawag na brain of the revolution, yung utak ng revolution. So, guided by Aguinaldo's government through his political writings and decrees, shaping the ideology of the First Philippine Republic. So, tama yung mga natatandaan nyo kasi si Mabini ang sinatawag na utak ng ating revolution. So, next question, number 3. Nakikita nyo pa ba? Check, comment kayo dyan sa ating chat box kung nakakasunod pa kayo. No? Ayan, nakakasunod pa sila. So, number 3, what was the first book published in the Philippines? Kung alam niyo yan, kasi alam ko na napag-aralan nyo na yan. No? So, letter A, No Limetangere. Letter B, Urbana at Felisa. Letter C, Doctrina Cristina. Letter D, Borlaan at Jose. So, chat nyo sa ating chat box kung natatandaan nyo pa yung first book na na-publish dito sa Pilipinas. So, check kayo sa chat box, no? Ayan. Ang dami ulit nakatamang sagot. Ang tamang sagot ay yung Doctrina Christiana, no? So, ang Doctrina Christiana ay printed in 1593 using wood blocks. No? Contains the basic Catholic teaching in Spanish and Tagalog. Yung tinatawag nating baybayin. It is considered the first printed book in the country. So, in 1593, ito ang ginamit pa nila dito ay yung wood blocks. So, tandaan natin na ang Doctrina Christiana ang unang na-publish na libro dito sa Pilipinas, hindi ang No Limetangere. So, number 4, nababasa niyo ba yung nakapakita sa ating screen? Ayan. So, number 4, what law is also known as the Martial Law Act? No? So, letter A, RA 4125. Letter B, RA 9165. Letter C, Proclamation number 1081. Or yung letter D is RA 10121. No? So, chat kayo sa ating chat box kung naalala nyo pa yung tinatawag natin na Martial Law Act. No? Ayan. So, ang tama nating sagot ay yung letter C, or yung tinatawag natin Proclamation number 1081 or yung 1081. So, Marcos, siya yung nag-issue ng ating Proclamation number 1081 declaring martial law nationwide. Though often mistaken for a law, it is a presidential proclamation that suspended civil liberties and allowed rule by decree. So, ayan. So, hindi siya yung RA 142. Ayan. So, chat kayo sa ating comment box kung may mga question kayo regarding ating mga question. Ayan, wala naman. So, proceed tayo sa ating number 5. Ayan. Ready na? Sige, heart react kayo kung nakakasabay pa kayo. Ayan. So, ang number 5 natin, which of the following is a primary source for studying the Commonwealth Constitution Convention of 1935? Pag sinabi natin primary source, ano ba ang unang pinagkuhanan or nakasulat na libro kung saan nila nakuha ito, no? So, letter A, textbook on Philippine government. Letter B, minutes of the convention. Letter C, biography of Manuel Quezon. And letter D, documentary film. So, saan ba nila nakuha yung, or ano yung ginamit nilang source para magawa yung Commonwealth para ma-study or mapag-aralan yung Commonwealth Constitution Convention ng 1935. So, ano daw yung primary source? So, sige, i-chat nyo sa ating chat box ang yung mga, kung naalala nyo pa, ang sagot ng Ayan, marami din naman nakapagsagot ng tamang sagot or yung sinasabi na minutes of the convention or yung mga nagtitake note ng sa convention. No? So, minutes are first hand. Ibig sabihin, sila mismo ang nagsusulat kaya natawag siyang primary source kasi diba, habang nangyayari yung convention, nagtitake note siya ng mga pinag-uusapan. Kaya yung naging primary source nila is yung sinasabi, tinawag nating minutes of the convention. Original record of the proceeding, they directly capture the discussion and decision of the delegates, making them the primary source. Next, number 6, Teodoro Agoncillo's The Revolt of the Masses is the example of what kind of historical source? So, ano daw type siya ng source? Primary, secondary, or... So, number 1, primary source. Letter A, primary source. Letter B, secondary source. And letter C, tertiary source. And letter D, archival material. So comment down below, chat sa ating chat box kung ano nga ba ang inyong sagot. Ayan. So, ang dami sumasagot ng secondary source. Tama kayo, no? So, secondary source lang siya. Agoncillo wrote the book decades after the revolution, interpreting documents and accounts, no? It analyzes events rather than providing direct witnesses and testimony. Ayan, gets naman. So heart track kayo kung nakakasabay pa kayo. Ayan, gising pa sila. So, number 7, when was the first election of the Philippines held? So, kailan ba naganap ang ating unang elections dito sa Pilipinas? So, letter A, June 12, 1898. Letter B, March 22, 1897. And letter C, November 30, 1896. Letter D, January 20, 1899. So, chat kayo sa ating chat box kung naalala nyo pa yung nangyaring first election na inyong na-discuss sa Pilipinas. No? So, tama, no? Letter B. So, karamihan sa inyo naalala pa yung tamang sagot. So, tama naman. Letter B, March 22, 1897. So, during the Tajeros Convention, Filipino revolutionaries elected new leaders with Aguinaldo chosen as the president. This was the first recorded political election in the Philippine history. So, kung matatandaan nyo, nangyari yung nung nangyari yung Tajeros Convention, doon naman pumasok yung ating Filipino revolutionaryo na mga nag-elect sa ating naging first president in the Philippines, which is si Emilio Aguinaldo. No? Ayan. So, nababalik na ba sa mga isip niyo yung inyong mga napag-aralan sa Philippine history? Ayan. So, proceed tayo sa ating number 8. So, the building of modern public schools throughout the Philippines was implemented by what act? Ano bang act yun? Number A, Jones Law. Letter B, Gabaldon Act. Letter C, Copper Act, or yung letter D, or yung Pine Aldrich Act. So, ano daw yung modern public building of modern public schools? Ito ang tinatawag na tama, no? Yung Gabaldon Act or yung Act of 1801. No? So, the Gabaldon Act founded by the construction of standardized permanent schools building nationwide. These Gabaldon schoolhouses mark the spread of public education under American law. So, nagsimula yung pag-build ng mga public schools sa tulong ng Gabaldon Act under ng American rule. So, number 9. So, nakakasunod pa ba? Sige, heart react kayo. So, 9. So, who is known as the father of the Philippine Local Government Code? So, first, o yung letter A, Jose Diokno. B, Aquilino Pimentel Jr. C, Sergio Osmeña. Letter D, Manuel Rojas. So, chat kayo ng kung anong correct answer. Ayan. So, tama, no? Si letter B, Aquilio Pimentel Jr. So si Pimentel, inauthor niya yung Local Government Code of 1991 or tinatawag natin RA 7160. Empowered siya ng LGUs by promoting decentralization, autonomy, and local governance reforms. So, we're down to our last question. So, nakakasunod pa ba? Heart track kayo, yung mga nakakasunod pa. Ayan, magagising pa sila. So, which event officially ended Spanish rule in the Philippines? Ayan, maraming nalilito dito. So, letter A, Cry of Puwad Lawin. B, Proclamation of Philippine Independence. Letter C, Treaty of Paris or yung naganap siya ng 1898 or yung letter D, Biak na Bato. Pak. Ayan, comment, check kayo sa ating chat box kung naalala niyo pa ba yung ginawa na yung tumapos sa Spanish rule dito sa Pilipinas. Ano pa yung ginawa natin para matapos? Ayan. So, tama, no? Letter C, Treaty of Paris na naganap noong 1898. The treaty legally ended the Spanish-American War. Spain ceded the Philippines to the US, pero nagbayad sila ng $20 million, officially ending Spanish sovereignty even though Filipinos have declared independence earlier. Kasi nga, diba, dalawa ating naging independence. Kasi nauna tayong mag-declare. Pero, nag-officially ended talaga siya sa tulong ng Treaty of Paris na naganap noong 1898. So, ayan lang for the Philippine history. Ayun lang naman. Mag-chat na lang kayo kung may mga ibang pang katanungan. Thank you.
Yan. So, good morning, everyone. So, ngayon, dito naman tayo sa subject na political science. So, handa na ba ang lahat? So, paki-comment nga yung number 1 kung ready na lahat. Yan. So, nakita ko na handa na lahat. So, number 1, one question. Which principle ensure that the power of the government is divided among branches? A, transparency. B, separation of powers. C, civil liberties. At D, suffrage. Yan. So, paki-comment lang yung tamang sagot. Yan. So, ang tamang sagot ay letter B, separation of power. So, bakit separation of power? So, separation of power, these principles divides government function among 3 different branches, di ba? Kaya meron tayong legislative, executive, at judiciary. So, wala tayong single branches na nag-work lang or meron siyang isang kapangyarihan. So, meron tayong 3 branches sa government natin. So, number 2, a government which is ruled by a small group of elite is known as A, monarchy, B, oligarchy, C, democracy, at D, authoritarianism. So, paki-comment. Letter A ba? B? Yan. So, the correct answer is oligarchy. So, pag sinabi nating oligarchy, ito yung system na pinamumunuan ng few people or small elite group who hold power often for their own interests. So, number 3, which document serve as the fundamental law of the Philippines? A, Magna Carta of Rights. B, Presidential Decree. C, Constitution. At D, Executive Orders. Yan. So, alam nyo to, no? Yan. Kitang-kita ko sa comment section na the correct answer is D, Constitution. Yan. Yung Constitution natin, ito yung supreme fundamental of laws dito sa Pilipinas, no, that establish government structures, powers, and rights. So, number 4, which branch of government interprets the law? A, executive. B, legislative. C, judicial. At D, local government unit. Yan. So, very easy question lang, di ba? The correct answer is, very good, letter C, judicial. No? So, yung judicial branch natin, ito yung nag-i-interpret and nag-a-apply ng laws natin dito sa Pilipinas. So, number 5, who heads the executive branch of the Philippines? A, Chief Justice. B, Senate President. C, President. D, Speaker of the House. The correct answer is C, tama, President. So, President yung namumuno or head ng executive branch and siya rin yung chief executive of the state, di ba? So, kasi pag yung Senate President, ito yung president over the Senate part. Yun lang yung, or part ng legislative lang, di ba? Hindi executive. Pag sinabi naman natin Speaker of the House, syempre ito yung namumuno sa House of Representative, hindi sa executive, di ba? So the correct answer is President. Number 6, which type of government is headed by a hereditary ruler such as king or queen? Ito na yung pinamumunuan ng mga hari at reyna. So A, dictatorship, B, monarchy, C, theocracy, D, anarchy. Yan, the correct answer is B, monarchy. Monarchy is a form of government led by a monarch or hari at reyna, di ba? Often hereditary or namamana-mana or napapasa-pasa, di ba? So, next, 7, who is responsible for enforcing laws of the Philippines? A, Congress, B, Supreme Court, C, President, at D, COMELEC. So, paki-comment yung mga tingin yung tama. Who is the responsible enforcing the law dito sa Pilipinas? Tama, si President. So, yung President natin, yung head ng executive, ay siya yung responsible for enforcing and implementing laws dito sa Pilipinas, di ba? So, kasi pag Congress, ang Congress, di ba, legislative body yun that makes mga batas, that makes law. Hindi siya yung primary enforcer. So, yung primary enforcer natin ay ang Presidente. So, number 8, which political philosopher wrote The Republic, discussing ideal governance? So, sino daw nagsulat ng The Republic? Si A, Aristotle, B, Plato, C, Montesquieu, at D, John Locke. So, the correct answer is B, Plato. So, si Plato ang nagsulat ng The Republic. Ito ay ang foundation ng justice and ideal state or government, di ba? Kasi si Aristotle, sinulat ni Aristotle yung politics. Si Montesquieu naman, siya yung sa kanya yung the spirit of law or yung separation of power. Pag si John Locke naman, sinulat niya yung two treatises of government, no? Hindi ang republic. So, number 9 question, which government power regulates public safety and welfare? A, police power, B, eminent domain, C, taxation, D, judicial review. Yan. So, the correct answer is A, police power. So, pag sinabi natin police power, di ba, sa constitutional law, yung police power, ito yung tumutukoy sa government authority to regulate behavior and enforce order for public safety. Katulad na lang ng mga health, morals, and general welfare, di ba? Pag sinabi naman natin eminent domain, ito yung kinukuha ng government yung private property for public use with just compensation, di ba? Pag taxation, yan, power to raise revenue, specifically sa mga to regulate safety or welfare. Pag sinabi naman natin judicial review, ito yung court power to assess constitutional of law and government acts. Hindi siya regulatory power for public safety. So the correct answer is police power. So for the last question, the Senate and House of Representatives together form the A, judiciary, B, legislative, C, executive, at D, cabinet. Yan. So, the correct answer is legislative. So, legislative, di ba yung Senate and House of Representatives together, sila yung tinatawag nating legislative branch, yung the Congress, sila yung gumagawa ng laws. Pag sinabi natin judiciary, sila naman yung nag-i-interpret ng law, hindi sila yung Senate and House of Representatives. Pag sinabi natin executive, sila yung executive, ito yung pinamumunuan ng president, di ba? With administrative agencies that implement law, not the two chambers. Pag sinabi natin cabinet, ito yung president, chief advisor, and department heads part of the government. So, yan. So, thank you sa pagsama sa review natin ngayong gabi, no? So, I hope marami kayong natutunan and thank you very much for attending our review. So, yun lang para sa political science. And thank you, everyone.